for things as they came up. So let's do, does that work? Can you still see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this was the Israel-Palestine conflict through my grandfather's eyes. And he was very young actually when it happened, so he doesn't really know anything about politics. Just to let you guys know.
Hey Naomi, can I have you turn, when you flip the slide, can you maybe go in front of it so the girls can hear you this way?
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? So I can click your slides for you, or you can turn it around so she can reach her. And then, yeah. There you go. That way people can hear you a little better.
Oh, okay. Okay, so my grandfather was born on August 6, 1936 in Haifa, Palestine, which you can see on the map right there. He is Arab Palestinian Christian. He was born into a family of 4 boys and 1 girl. His father died when he was young and left the family with no money, so his aunts and uncles decided to send 2 children, actually, not 3, to an orphanage. Okay, so the orphanage my grandfather lived in was an all-boys Catholic orphanage located inside the Jerusalem wall, which is not a wall to keep them out. It's like it's not like a barrier or anything. It just kept like the city of Jerusalem, I think, inside. So, and above the playground where the kids of the orphanage played was a marble clock, which you can see right, which is like, I believe right there. That's the marble clock. So shortly after the Balfour Treaty, the Israelis moved in, and the Balfour Treaty is like Balfour Declaration, kind of. And the Israelis moved in, taking everything by force. They killed Palestinians, and they were taking their land and their homes and things like that. And the British and the U.S. were helping them by giving them food and arms, which is weapons. So the war came to my grandfather's orphanage. So the war broke out between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Palestinian soldiers were fighting the Israelis by the orphanage, and the Israelis knew that. So they shot the clock above the playground, knowing there were children below. The marble shattered and fell onto the kids. My grandfather still has scars from the shards that fell on his head. Whenever Palestinians fell off the wall, injured and wounded, the orphans would drag them to the infirmary to be fixed. And the fighting would go on until late at night and start early the next day. The Israelis also poisoned the water at the orphanage as well. They couldn't bathe, wash dishes, or drink water. The orphans had to wipe their plates with bread and eat off the same plate every meal until clean drinking water was brought to them. So afterwards, they left the so eventually the soldiers left the orphanage and they went on to fight other places, and he said his life continued on, but he was very young at that time, so he didn't really know much about what was happening around him. So in 1950, my grandfather left Jerusalem and attended a college called Emus, I think, to become a priest. At this time, the war was still going on, and he had no contact with his mother or siblings, who were in Beirut as refugees. One day, a priest asked my grandpa about about Nahil Maluk, who is his mother, and told my grandfather where she was. He went to see her and his sister and never returned to Emmaus. In 1957, my grandfather, his mother, and his sister Mary moved to Canada, where he met my grandmother and still lives today. So these are some pictures. These are my great-grandparents. My great-grandfather was named Hannah Maluk, which translates to John, and my grandmother was named Nahil Maluk, which translates to Nellie. And then this is my grandfather's family. There's And then his oldest brother, which is Mike or Michael, and there's Tony, Eli, and then my grandfather's in the stroller, and his sister wasn't born yet. So when my grandfather went to the orphanage, they took this picture, and the girl who's sitting next to him is his sister, Mary. This is his like class picture, and you can see like there's some of like the priests who taught and like took care of them sitting around there, and my grandfather's on the top. And this is his orphanage registration form, and can't really understand it because it's not written in English. I believe it's written in Arabic. And so this was the day he was brought in, like the day they brought him into the orphanage, which is the 16th of September in 1943. That is his birthday, 23rd of August of 1936, and those are his parents, and that's him. And when my parents went to visit the orphanage in 2000, they took this picture of where all the orphans sleep. So that's their bedroom. This is another picture of my grandfather. He's standing in the middle, but it's kind of hard to see. And then this is a picture of the priest who took care of my grandfather. He immediately recognized my grandfather and went into his house. He returned with a letter my grandfather wrote him from Canada in 1957. This was 50 years after my grandfather left the orphanage. The priest was 80, and that's in 2000. Thanks for watching. And this is what my grandfather said, so it might not all be accurate because he doesn't have the best memory anymore.